Thank you so much for joining us here on Connecting Hope. I'm Will Hampton along with Monica GREER from the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. And we're excited again to be here on Connecting Hope, connecting people with services. And I hope it's working so far. Huh?
I hope so too,
Yeah.
yes. We've had a lot of good...
One of the things that, that you did recently, back the last day of August, you had a Narcan box drop-off at your first local business. Tell me about that day.
Yes, we chose that day because it was International Opioid Awareness Day, Opioid Abuse Awareness Day. And this is an exciting project for businesses to jump on board. We have Narcan emergency boxes for businesses that want to put them in their businesses. They contain 2 Narcan kits and gloves, so if there is an emergency at their business, they can start the process of the Narcan administration.
I noticed at that event that day, there were so many local fire and police officials from all around the county. That was nice to see them there to support, what was it, Schwartz's bait and tackle.
Yep.
And both Steve and Lori were there.
Yes.
Of course, Steve is a Hamilton County councilman. So it was a big event, and I think it is a good start, right?
Yes, yes. Commissioner Harebrant was there. We had Fred Glenn, another council member, several police and fire and treatment providers. Very good community support. We're very proud, and we already have 4 or 5 other businesses interested in getting the box and the Narcan training. So.
And the idea is that people learn that they are at that facility, and if there's a issue locally or close by, they know they can go get some Narcan.
Yes, and all of the employees are trained on Narcan, on how to administer. Obviously, they're going to call 911 first and then administer the Narcan. Even if the person doesn't overdose on opioids, if the person doesn't know what's happening, the Narcan will not harm the person either way.
I got a chance to talk with both Steve and Lori Schwartz about the Narcan box drop-off.
Well, I think it's important, will any business have this? And by us having the first, it strengthens the program and hopefully the protocol of other businesses to jump on board and have this available. Unfortunately, drugs are a big problem in not only Noblesville, but the state and across the country.
One of the things that our county has done, Monica GREER, Jim GINDER, they have worked with our dispatch center here in Hamilton County. And if there is a 911 call that somebody has overdosed, not just here in our business, but in this area, they will notify the officer or the person that has called the 911 that we have Narcan here. So they can come into our store, we can help them disperse that properly and maybe save a life. That's what this is all about.
Steven is definitely one of your real heroes, isn't he?
Yes, yes. He is a board member. He is on the Traffic Safety Partnership. Just a great person to have on our team and in the community. Does great work.
I grew up here in Noblesville, graduated from Noblesville High School in '96. I can't pinpoint a certain trauma, but there was certainly some trauma along the way. I started smoking weed in high school, drinking in high school. Probably knew I had a problem with alcohol before I graduated high school, but I was certainly just young and doing the thing. I had young children at a young age, 2 before I was 21. And my drug addiction just gradually progressed, and it went from marijuana, alcohol, to alcohol, cocaine, to pain pills. And when it took that turn, everything went down pretty fast for me. I was quickly addicted to heroin and other prescription medications. It was in 2011 that I started feeling the judicial consequences of my addiction, and that wasn't necessarily the bottom for me, but it was a catapult. So in 2012, I actually got sober, went to Fairbanks. I stayed at their supportive living. So I try to run this place as what worked for me, and supportive living did work for me. So I went there. And the rest is history. I jumped right into the 12-step program and hit it hard. We started a softball team. I was trying to figure out who Amy was, clean and sober. And so I was trying all different things, softball and knitting and exercise and all the different things, because I didn't know who I was. I had lost myself in those years. So
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with Connecting Hope. And welcome back to Connecting Hope. I'm so happy you're with us tonight. I'm Will Hampton along with Monica GREER and a very special guest, Darrell Mitchell from Aspire and also Progress House joins us here. And I do want to say before we really get started is thank you so much for your sponsorship of this show. It means so much to have guys like you and your organization to jump on board and support what we're trying to get accomplished here.
Oh, well, we're thrilled to be a part of it. Thanks for asking.
Sure, yeah. So Darrell, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about what makes your program unique?
Sure. So we're really an integrated healthcare system, and the intention is to provide services for the whole person. Often people that are suffering from substance use disorder, they'll go and get just services for one particular part of self, but not all. So we're made up of Aspire is a healthcare system made up of a primary care company. It's a federally qualified health center. And then our community mental health center provides behavioral health services. So anybody suffering from any mental health issues. And then we have our recovery centers and recovery homes, which are transitional living programs where people can live in a safe and sober environment, practice the principles that they learned in recovery, but they can now receive those other two services or bundle of services in that environment. So it's, oftentimes someone will go to a treatment facility for services and then they'll leave there and they may go to a recovery home, and then if they need additional services, they may be going somewhere else for outpatient services. So the ability to provide those in an integrated setting, one of the advantages is the staff that's serving both the health needs, the mental health needs, and the recovery support services needs are able to talk about how the client's doing in a way that is more difficult when you're in different locations.
Right.
So we're excited about that. It's the first model of its kind, and we're seeing a lot of success.
Yeah, I know when I worked with you in years past, that was a struggle for clients to get from one place to another, whether it's transportation issues or working around their work schedule and that type of thing. So I was excited to hear that those services were going to be in-house and one-stop shop. So that's very helpful. So I know that during this health crisis, the problems and issues don't stop. So how do people continue to get help?
Oh, that's such a good point. One of the things that I was reading recently is that alcohol sales nationally are up, over 250%. The state's 211 line, where they used to get 20 calls in a week, they're receiving over 20 calls a day. So you have an increase of 700% need for addiction services. Yeah. So it's a real challenge. So one of the things that we've been working on as an organization and initiative was to get 100% in the cloud, so that we could do business anywhere at any time on any device. And telehealth was something that we used to do, the video in person calls, whether it's individual therapy or group therapy. We were doing about 7 a week. We're now conducting over 1,000 a week. Wow. So it's been a significant increase. People with transportation issues. One of the other things that we discovered is the no-show rates are down. So perhaps people in the comfort of their own home, feeling a little more safe and secure. So we've been really pleased that we didn't have to discontinue any services. Yeah. And, recovery really, if somebody said, well, how would you define recovery in a word? I think it's connection. Yeah. So it's really challenging and dangerous for folks that are in early recovery to not be able to connect in some fashion, with their support systems. Yeah. So this has been a big plus for us.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know we're telling success stories here on this show each and every week. And actually, you're going to be our success story next week. But each person that I've talked with they always say, well, they tried and then it fell off, and they tried and they couldn't get it going. They tried and they couldn't finish. What's different about your organization where you think it'll stick, that they can come to Aspire, come to Progress House, and really start that road to recovery?
That's such a great question, because everybody recovers differently.
Yeah.
And there's no single solution or right way. So I think the diversity of services, so that if somebody really does require a medical model initially to get stabilized physically, they're able to do that. Because oftentimes, if you don't have that particular component up front where people can go and have withdrawal management, you can't get into a program where there's congregated living, because it's not good for the community for somebody to be, in a withdrawal situation. So having that component and then being able to offer these other services, it just allows people to have this integrated care occur. And what we've seen as a result of that is that the retention factor of people staying in our programs has increased. Our success rates are increasing significantly. At Progress House, for example, we run over 50% success rate, and people go, well, that's if we were talking about sending somebody to university and said 1 out of every 2 people graduated, we wouldn't be impressed. Yeah. But when you talk about 1 out of 2 people in a chronically addictive disease, nationally, it's much less than 10% is the success rate. So it's I think it's those pieces, and then I think the magic sauce of the recovery residence model is the social connection.
Yeah.
So you're with your peers, so you already are starting with, well, people, I thought I was terminally unique, people like me are actually recovering, and you're living with folks, and you're getting a safe place to practice the things that you're being taught. Because there's times where if somebody is just going to, let's use an example of counseling, and they go an hour a few times a week, but what about the other 23 hours a day? So when you get into a situation where you have this social model of recovery, where people are eating together, going to groups together, talking about life together, there's somebody modeling the right behavior for somebody that hasn't learned those skills yet. Yeah. So that secret sauce, we have to increase our capacity for people to be able to be in that environment. Yeah. If not, then we just see this chronic, revolving door. Our recidivism rates are, we can look at those things. So getting somebody stabilized physically is so important, because they can't begin the recovery process, but it can't stop there. And some people aren't ready after they've gone through, detox, to start, to go back in the same environments where they were using and they weren't being successful. Yeah. So I think it's the connection of the pieces, Will.
Yeah. Real quickly, how can people reach out to you? How can they contact you?
Sure. Well, so pardon me. There's our websites, aspireindiana.org and progresshouse.org. We have our main phone numbers listed on our sites. So, at Aspire, we have a call center that you can set up your appointments. You can also do that online. There's also a 24-hour crisis center, so that if you're in danger of something, any suicidal ideation or some other concern, you can reach somebody. And with Progress House, complete an application, and then meet with somebody from our operations team to do an interview and get an assessment and determine whether the program's right for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your leadership, and appreciate again your sponsorship, and just great talking to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the work you're doing.
All right. That's Darrell Mitchell. We're going to take a break. We're back with more Connecting Hope after this.
So my name is Jim Ginder, and I'm with Hamilton County Health Department. I'm the health education specialist at our office. What I'm going to do today is to show you how to deal with somebody who possibly overdosed on an opiate. So what we're going to do before we do anything is we need to make sure that the scene is safe, because I do not want to become that victim. So we have our mannequin here, so he's unresponsive. So first of all, I'm going to make sure the scene is safe. Then I'm going to come up and shake and shout, "Hey, are you okay? You're okay." He's unresponsive. I'm going to pull out my cell phone and call 911, or have somebody with me call 911. Then I'm going to put my head down by his mouth and nose, then also on his chest. And what you're doing is you are listening and you're feeling. So you don't hear anything and you don't feel the rise and fall of the chest. So you're going to take your Narcan or naloxone. I'm going to open it up. What you're going to do is you're going to take it out of the package, stick it in one of his nostrils, put it in as far as you can, push the button until the button is all the way flat with the device. Then what you're gonna do is you need to flip them over. And the reason why you need to flip them over, there's a pretty good chance that they're gonna start to vomit after that Narcan starts to work. It takes about 2 minutes for Narcan to work. Roll him back over if you don't see him breathing again, and give a second dose as well. Just remember, when you give Narcan, a lot of times the person will vomit. So that's the reason why I flipped them over. And also that the person can be a little combative when you wake them up. But hopefully the police will be there by the time you need to give that second dose of Narcan, or by the time that the individual starts to wake up as well too. Thank you very much for watching how to take care of someone who has possibly overdosed on an opiate. If you would like more information, you can visit our page at Hamilton County Health Department, which is www.hamiltoncounty.in.gov. Then just hit Health Department, and you can send us an email, or if you're interested in obtaining some Narcan, we can also provide you some Narcan as well too, free of charge.
Jim Ginder still at it again, teaching people how to use the Narcan, and that's very important. It's vital to saving lives, isn't it?
Yes. Hopefully we have spread the word throughout the community that we have Narcan available, and if anyone wants to get trained, they can contact Jim at the health department and get some Narcan kits if they need it.
Earlier in the show, we heard part 1 of Amy's story. Now, part 2 of Amy's story.
So this is Lifehouse Sober Living. It was founded in 2017 by myself and my husband. We are a sober living home for women. So we started out with 4 beds here. We currently have 12 beds for women who are seeking freedom from drug and alcohol addiction. There is a current waiting list. A lot of our people come from detox centers, jails, prisons. There are some that just come by word of mouth from the community that are struggling with addiction, but most of our people come from either incarceration or detox centers. My experience in recovery was that until I found that relationship with God, I was unable to be successful in recovery. So we have a very good relationship with our church pastors, and they come out here and they bless us, and I like to call this a God-centered home. We certainly do focus on 12 steps and other recovery aspects, but God-centered. We're supportive living. So Hamilton County Drug and Alcohol Council came along at the perfect time because they help with like our transportation funding and stuff. So I provide all the transportation for all the ladies to work, 12-step meetings, counseling, therapy, intensive outpatient, wherever they need to go. So they give me a schedule each week, and then I kind of get them everywhere they need to go throughout the week. So I refer them out to outpatient services, and then we do several meetings here at the house, but they also go to outside meetings as well. We have found that we're most successful if they stay between 9 and 15 months. And generally speaking, a lot of them come in thinking they're going to stay 30 days and end up staying 9 months to a year. It was a slow process for me. I feel like I was jaded a little from my upbringing. And so when I got to the 12-step program, the word God kind of made me squirm. And so it was a slow process. I got sober in 2012. I attended my first church service at the end of 2013. And it was probably a month of attending I-Town Church that I gave my life to Jesus, to be able to know that I'm not running this show, that God is running it. And that takes a whole lot of pressure off of me. When you're trying to manage 12 women that are broken, for lack of a better word, that are really trying to get their lives back together, it's hard work, and I'm not qualified. So it's with God's help that I'm able to really lead them in the right direction and teach them the skills they need to be successful and get a better life. It really is a dream come true, and a bigger dream than I had ever even imagined. I wanted to help people, but I didn't have any idea the impact that I would have and the success that I've seen. You know, addiction is a hard thing to come back from, and we have had a lot of success here, and it's because of God, and it's because of the experiences that I've had that sometimes I have to pinch myself. It's just unbelievable. I've been taught in the last couple of years to dream big, so I'm going to dream big. You know, we just actually finished the addition at the end of last year in 2019, so that added 6 beds. So my goal, I think, is to find another place on another property to have like a transitional home where there's still the support and accountability, but not as much, so that they can potentially be reunited with their children, or, you know, learning to live outside of the same 4 walls, you know. So maybe phase 2 someday.
Welcome back, and thank you so very much for watching Connecting Hope. I'm Will Hampton along with Monica GREER, and coming up next week, we're going to talk about PTSD. How does PTSD connect with a show about addiction?
Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder is the term for that, and a lot of individuals that suffer with PTSD also turn to drugs or alcohol to help either minimize their feelings or their pain, or to mask it in front of others. So it's very intertwined. So we want to get people help when we can.
It's an interesting story. The guy's name is Paul Phelps, and he's going to join us next week here on Connecting Hope to talk about his ministry that's called MASH Ministry. So again, Monica, thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed talking with you again. We're going to
Anytime.
close. That'll do it for us here on Connecting Hope. Thank you so very much for watching.